This video will help you complete your homework tonight about trig word problems. The hardest part about trig word problems are these two vocabulary words, angle of elevation and angle of depression. The important thing to remember about them is they are always measured from the horizontal. So no matter what picture you're drawing, make sure your angle of elevation or your angle of depression includes a horizontal line. In this picture, you can see how the angle of depression is measured down. So that's when you're looking from above down to a tree, whereas the angle of elevation would be measured up. So that would be if you were standing down here by the tree and looked up at the airplane. The really cool thing, though, is that these two angles are equal. We know this because we have two parallel horizontal lines cut by a transversal. So it actually doesn't matter where you place the angle as long as it has a horizontal side. It can be up at the top. You could make a triangle up at the top, or you could make a triangle with a base on the ground. So the trick that I'm going to say is always put your angle in the bottom corner. It's just easier to remember if you're always using this corner down here. Let's look at an example. This is example 1 on the front of your packet, and we're going to be solving for a side. So we've got the situation that a ladder is leaning against the side of a building. So let me just draw in a building. Great. Here's a building with some windows. And then I know a ladder is leaning against it. So here's my ladder. And it makes a 50-degree angle with the ground. Now in this word problem, we don't actually even have those words, angle of elevation or depression, so we don't have to worry about it. I know that the angle that is made with from the ladder and the ground is this bottom right angle, so that's 50 degrees. If the base of the ladder is 5 feet from the building, well, here's the base of my ladder, so I know this distance is 5 feet. How long is the ladder? Here's my ladder, so I'm going to put X there because I want to know that length. All right, so now we can just visualize a triangle here, outlined in red. It looks like I know the adjacent and the hypotenuse, so that's a cosine problem. So cosine of 50 will equal my adjacent, so 5 over X. Now I'll go to the calculator. Excuse me, and cosine of 50 is 0.64 equals 5 over x. Put that over 1. Cross multiply. 0.64 equals, 0.64x equals 5. Divide both sides by 0.64. And I'm left with x equals 7.8 feet. Okay, here's example 3. So I've skipped example 2 because it's pretty similar to example 1, except it does use the word angle of elevation. So you can go try that one yourself and maybe check your answer. But example 3 is a little different because we're solving for an angle. So this time we have an owl perched at the top of a 50-foot tree. So here's my tree. I know it's 50 feet. My owl's up here at the top. Looks nothing like an owl. Pretend it does. And he spots a worm that is 20 feet from the bottom of the tree. So here's my worm on the ground. And I know this distance to the bottom of the tree from the worm is 20 feet. And now I'm asked at what angle of depression should the owl fly to eat the worm. So here's the path the owl's going to fly to eat the worm. Technically, the angle of depression is this angle here at the top. However, I know it's the same as the angle down at the bottom. And for whatever reason, I find it easier to look at this triangle rather than the top one. So now I'm going to label my sides using that bottom left angle. And I've got the opposite for 50, adjacent for 20, and my hypotenuse is actually the way the owl will fly. So since I have opposite and adjacent, since I know them, I think this is a tangent problem. So tangent of theta equals 50 over 20, opposite over adjacent. So now I, of course, need to use my calculator with the inverse button. So I'm going to do inverse tan of 50 over 20. And I get theta equals 68.2 degrees. Just a reminder for you guys, the homework is the back of where you were seeing those examples. So page 2, numbers 1 through 5, and the answers are on Schoology, so please check your work.